Hello everyone. So this is going to be the third long yoga video that I'm going to shoot. I hope that the camera angle is fine. I heard some criticism of it earlier from family, but that's completely okay. As long as you can see the poses and the sequence, it doesn't matter. Now the theme for this particular sequence is the inculcation of self-expression and the expression of the circumstances of one's life. In that sense, it is not unlike a language, and without very much else in terms of introduction, let us begin. Raise your arms into the air over your head. Breathe in. Swan dive back down on the exhale. Stretch out your back here. You can hold your ankles and pull a little, get a bit of a further stretch. Stretch to the sides if you wish, it helps me. Adding a few simple movements. Just the pose as it is. Let's come back to half forward fold. Breathe here. Come back up. Join your palms and come back down. Alright, we will step a little to the front of our mat and place our palms on the mat and walk out to a plank. We usually begin with cat cow, but I'm just moving to the chaturanga sequence here. Come down slowly and push up into cobra, or if your range of motion permits it today, upward facing dog. You can raise your knees off the mat for a bit of an extra stretch. Remember to breathe. Look behind you to your left. And to the other side. Up. And let's come back into child's pose. Breathe deeply here. Let's come into seated and let's practice from our haunches a basic malasana. You squat with your ankles not very far apart. Sink your butt as low as you can. See if it can touch your ankles. If it can't, that's not an issue. You can extend the width of your feet if that helps you reach the pose. And extend your hands forward while pushing your butt back a little. If that helps you extend your lower back. Breathe into your lower back. Let's come back on our haunches and on our fours. You can keep your toes flexed underneath your feet or flat on the ground, whichever you like, for cat-cow. Exhale into your cat. Once this becomes easy, see if you can make the movement flow with your breath. This is a great stretch for your upper back or your middle back. Helps counteract all the sitting that we do every day. And let's meet again at neutral. And bring your left knee a little to the center. You can move your hands a little forward and lift your right leg up while keeping the knee bent. You can add some simple rotation if this is comfortable. The hips really get tight from sitting. And while this isn't a standard yoga pose or movement, I believe it's beneficial to include it. Just 3 circles or 4. You can move to the other side. Knees back. Let's come into downward facing dog. Stretch your upper back, your traps here. Extend your arms overhead. Push into your palms without trying to extend your elbows, your shoulders beyond their sockets too far. Breathe into your lower belly here. I find that it helps me if I were to exhale a little forcefully. And lower back to your fours. We will be mobilizing our posterior chain. You can extend your left leg back. Keep it on the mat if that's comfortable, or if that's all you can do today, and raise your right arm up. If you find it within your practice, you can raise your left leg in the air and try and make a straight line from the tip of your fingers to your toes. Breathe here. Four conscious breaths, and let's repeat the movement on the other side. right leg back, left arm up. And back to your folds. We can sit briefly for rest in Vajrasana. And let's use this moment to add some basic twists to our practice. Beginning with our right, you can look back, palm on your left knee, right knee, left palm, to help extend the twist a little. Breathe into your lower belly when you do this. And twist to the other side. And extend briefly in child's pose with your knees closer together this time, and see if that changes the stretch in your back. You can move your knees a little further outwards to get your torso to fit between the gap. And move to the left. Stretching your right hip and lower back. Easy long breaths. Your right. Back to center. And let's come back up again into our seat. You must be feeling a little warmed up by now. So let's move into our standing postures. Back into half forward fold. Full forward fold. And come up again. We will begin with Warrior 1. So lunge forward. You can point your back heel a little to the left, your back toes, if that helps you hold this posture better, and raise your arms, keeping your hips squared. Breathe here. moving into warrior 2. Extending over your leg, reaching downwards, and if you can, raise up on your front leg with your palm or your fingertips on the floor into a half moon. If you can raise your left arm up. This will make the balance a little more difficult, and look to your left. I struggle with this. Bring your left palm on the ground and let us raise our left leg into our forward split. Try and keep your head close to your knee and breathe. Bring your left foot down. You can walk out your legs a little to ease some of the contractions. Come back into half forward fold. Come up. And let us move directly back to warrior 1 on the other side. Raising your arms. Your sides may not be symmetrical. If you find that you can point your ankle straight back, and if that's more comfortable, you can try that. But bear in mind that your hips should still be square. And into our warrior 2, you can plant the ankle. Leaning over your right leg, bringing the palms, left hand to the ground, raising up into half moon. I find that I really should do a lot more of this one. Bringing the right arm down to our standing split on the left side. Explore the mobility that is within your reach in your practice. Go to the point where you find you can hold a posture not to where it compromises your form, back into half forward fold. Stand up. Step to the back of your mat. Focus on your breathing. And let's come back to our mat for seated for a moment. I'd like to ask you to take this opportunity to rest or do any seated stretches that you would like to. We may be doing standing poses again. Extend your legs and try and sit upright. You can raise your arms overhead. Breathe here with a straight back, or if you can fold over your legs and hold your feet. I find this really stretches my lower back well. Back up. Let's bring our right foot to the inside of our leg. Sit straight on your sit bones, keeping both flat on the mat. Extend your arms and reach over your left leg to grab your foot. If you can bring your knee and head closer together, but keep your back straight as possible and breathe into it. If you're a more advanced practitioner, you can twist to your right and bring your right arm overhead to meet your left, or just hang over that side. Remember to breathe. Come back up. Let's change legs. Onto our right this time. Arms extended. Fold over. I find this really stretches my hamstring. Come back over your left side for the advanced variation if you want. Let's come back up again to seated. sitting cross-legged does change the twist slightly. And if you want to rest, instead of child's pose, you are welcome to come into any variation of seat that you may so wish to. Let's return to our standing via half forward fold. Come back up. Move to the back of your mat. And into tree pose. So raise your right leg to the inside of your left, your right foot, and see if you can balance here. If possible, you can raise your arms up. Let's hold here for a little longer. Back to the other side. I like to use the less strenuous poses to slow down my breathing. Come back to stand. Many practitioners and videos on YouTube demonstrate standing poses with the leg extended to the side. Now that is really difficult for me and presently beyond my scope of practice, but I should practice those and get better at it. Anyway, for now, back to forward fold and walk out into plank again. Let's hold this plank for about 6 slow breaths. And push back to downward facing dog. Notice how your breath changes in these postures. Raise your heels up and roll spine back into plank, coming down briefly onto our mat. And this time, instead of upward facing dog. Let's just come in to Sphinx pose. You can look up and you will find that this does arch your back, countering some of the forward folds that we've been doing. Coming again to downward facing dog. Alright, let's come to three-legged dog. Raise your left leg up and breathe here. Bend your knee, stack your hips, and bring it to the side into a wild thing, raising your hips. Careful to keep your shoulder over your wrists. Coming back into three-legged dog. Lower your leg, rest for a moment. You can walk out your heels here. Add some gentle twists if that's comfortable. And to the other side, right leg up. Stacking your hips, knee bent. And do wild thing onto the other side, raising your hips. Coming back to our three-legged dog. Back to downward facing dog. Plank. Chaturanga. And upward facing dog. Let's rest briefly in child's pose here. This time with our arms back. You can hold your ankles if you wish, or just leave them on the mat. And back to seated. You can sit on the top of your ankles, tucking your toes underneath. And from here, we will rise up into kneeling and extend our arms forward. From here, spread your knees a little wider if you have to, and reach back and see if you can grab your ankle with both hands on each and arch upwards. Breathe into your abdomen. Coming out gently back into the seat. And into a squat. Let's take a break from the asanas and add just a brief mobility exercise for our hips and knees. You can sit on your sit bones, back upright. Spread your legs out in a V with your knees bent at 90-degree angles. And see if you can just plant each knee to the left while keeping your back as straight as possible, but a natural curve near the hip will come on both sides as you alternate legs. You can breathe with each repetition. I find that the battery may be low, getting a beep on my screen. Anyway, sorry for that. Back into seat. Bring your feet together. You can hold them if you wish. Your sit bones as close to the ankles as possible. You can flap your knees up and down. I'm sorry, my phone memory is low. I prematurely end this video. It's representative as a pilot project, a trial run, and I hope to make another. And if you can leave your feedback on this one, and yeah, sorry for the abrupt ending. Namaste.